Okay, good luck with the slow descent into madness.
If you can keep up and you don't mind dying, come along.
Dance off, bro. Me and you.
You know what? There's something just extremely uncomfortable about a man your size sniffing a flower.
We're gonna need a new plan.
I'll give you anything you ask for. As long as it's not something I don't want to get.
Get off my bridge.
Top news stories of the week. Time to find out once again with Megan Olson and News of the Week on The Al Travis Show.
Love having her on. It is Megan Olson with News of the Week. Megan, this is a bit of a sad time for me right now. I realize this will be the last Megan's News and Review of 2025.
Are we off next week?
That'll be 2026, right? Do I have one more? Oh, no, we have one more. Oh,
I'm
thank
like, I
goodness.
still have a recap to prep for. We got to recap the year.
All right, then I won't be as sad because I'm just concerned 2025, if I were to ask someone, Megan, to do a news bit with me, 2025 was the epitome. There has not been a week. Have we struggled to find a 4 or 5 top story? No. 2025 is epic.
And all on the same themes, which I think is quite comical. You know, it makes my job easy.
What's nice is 2026 is going to lead us into the same thing. This isn't going away anytime soon. But before we get all that, I want to wish you and yours a Merry Christmas. Is this your holiday? Do you enjoy Christmas? Is this your jam?
Yeah, I'd say so. Definitely love having the house decorated and hosting people and all the food and the cookies, even though I don't really even eat the cookies, but it's a labor of love.
Love that. Yeah, I found God gave me the perfect wife because Christmas is my jam. Love Christmas. And then she likes doing all the work. So the house gets decorated and it looks like, Santa Claus threw up in my home and they're just everywhere. And I don't have to do much. It is, I get up to a winter wonderland starting about Thanksgiving, right on through after the first of the year, and I don't have to do anything but drive the car wherever we're heading. It's a good day. It's a good thing. So, all right, Merry Christmas to you and yours, by the way.
Yes,
all right, top story. I don't know. It's going to be fraud. What's your top story today, Megan?
Yeah, top story in the lane of fraud, but really coming out of yesterday, a big letter that was signed by 98 mayors here in Minnesota came out. Really just highlighting, the rise of property taxes, how the state has shifted a lot of mandates down to the counties and to the cities, fraud stuff as well, deep concern and growing frustration about the state's fiscal direction. But 98 mayors signed on to this letter, and that doesn't seem super significant when you say, 98, we have 400, 500 plus cities, but that's about 11.5% of all the mayors.
Yeah.
And the fact that you have kind of this grassroots, localized kind of these voices weighing in. This is not something we've had before. I mean, they even cited Minnesota Chamber of Commerce reports that have growing concern for what the state is going to look like in the future. Our GDP growth is a lot slower than that of the national average. And I believe our labor force rate is growing by 0.2% a year. Yeah. It's not good.
This is what's hard for me as a staunch conservative, is that I would rather the taxation be down as close to as possible to me at my school board, at my mayor, at my city council. And my reason for that is I know those people, right? Or I can go to that meeting and I can sit down and say, hey, you, what are you thinking? The issue for me with this is that the state folks told all these folks down here by me what you must do. You must do this, you must do this. So they had to raise taxes. But did the state lower my state taxes? No, they raised them. They raised money, told these guys down here what to do, and what did they spend it all on? This is the kind of weird thing about the fraud, right? They're letting all this fraud go away. We could have spent that on local towns. That's not really how the government works. But my problem is they raised my taxes at the state. As far as I can tell, I got less out of it. Told my local what they had to do and made them tax me. That's not the way that works. Did that make sense? How I said I want the highest taxes to be closest to me.
I think what's unique about Minnesota is that for the longest time, the state has kind of bankrolled a lot of these local services and local opportunities. And now we're kind of seeing that flip on its head, because you have the federal government saying, well, we're not going to support the states in this way. And the states are like, well, we don't have the money. So they're passing it along. So I think in part, city and county leadership need a way to explain themselves. And I think this is part of the conversation.
Yeah.
But it's also just very jarring to have this shift all in 1 year. And then at the same time, you have counties like Ramsey County that have, I think it's like an 8.25% property tax increase, and they're adding 9 kind of top heavy, very high up county positions. So where is the money going? What's happening?
Yeah.
I will say, I know my town was fairly well insulated with kind of how our property taxes shook out and the growth due to tax-based diversification, but not every city has that. And a lot of these counties and what they're assessing your home at, that's where we're seeing a lot of the kind of push and pull of,
And
"You're telling me
anybody in
house
my
is worth this? I don't think I could actually sell it for that."
isn't anybody in my little town happy with how much taxes went up? But back to, I'd rather here than up there, but they got to do it right. And what's funny about it, none of these people at the state level who pushed that stuff down, that voted that stuff down, did not see this coming. Does the 98 mayors sending a letter to them, there's no one going, oops, I didn't realize we did that. No, they knew what they did. All this really does is tell all these people, hey, this is why this, it's a cover my butt mayor thing. This is why. We even sent a letter up there. It's not going to change a thing is the problem with this letter.
Yeah. Well, and Walz responded and he said, the governor is focused on lowering property taxes. He talked about how he sent $300 million to police and fire departments at the local level, talking about local government aid, which is kind of a tool used to even out cities, I guess, if you will, the best way to
Picking winners and losers, yes.
But a part of this conversation, and something that I think we might see in 2026, is one-time property tax relief. This is something I've heard from a number of folks that are saying this could be a topic of conversation in the legislature, of some sort of kind of like COVID stimulus.
That's
one-time check as relief for these property taxes. But I'm not convinced that this year is kind of like a once in a blue moon. I think this is a trend we're going to continue to see, especially as the economy balloons. We're kind of living in a bubble. And when is it going to pop?
It does exactly what happens at colleges. When all of a sudden there's more Pell Grant money or whatever money where kids can go free. Great, we're going to give you more Pell Grants. Okay, guess what happens? Cost of school goes up because school says it's not costing little Johnny anymore. We'll get it from the federal government. It's Obamacare. Everybody's yelling about what our Obamacare subsidy, lack of subsidies are and what it costs this year. Well, that was the cost. Somebody else was paying it. The subsidy, so you're not there. You start doing this with your taxes, your real estate taxes, you know what's going to happen? All these counties are going to go nuts. Hey, if every year they're getting $1,000, to offset what we're doing,
well,
just raise it $1,000. Exactly. This is a horrid idea. Fix the problem. Fixing the problem isn't adding somebody else's money to your pile and saying we're even. It's a horrid idea. Sorry, my thought. Go ahead.
No, all good. I mean, it goes into our conversations about fraud even too. And now we have Congress is getting involved. We have the House Oversight Committee that they're sending a lot of letters calling people, come in. We want to talk to you. I believe they sent it to Minnesota Department of Education Assistant Commissioner. You've got the former MNDHS commissioner on the list.
And he said, and if you don't answer these, we're going to go send somebody. We're going to chat with you. You decline. They're going to send you a subpoena. You're going to go. You're going to talk to these people under oath. This is going to. I just talked to Gustafson about it. I don't know if there's criminal. I don't know what the laws are. If anyone will ever be criminally held, if you work for the state of Minnesota, or, you know what I'm saying. I get it. Little Johnny's got an autism center that was a crap. He can go to jail for a while. I think the longest sentence I've seen is 2 years. Am I wrong? You steal $13 million, 2 years, do the math. It was probably a good deal.
And I think most are less focused on criminal accountability and more focused on this kind of like public accountability and like social ostracization, making sure that we hold those people accountable, that they take accountability publicly, and that just generally, the general public knows that what these people did was wrong.
Okay. But this is how bad it's gotten. So we all know Trump named stuff after Trump. I don't think that's... But they came up with a new word which will be associated with Minnesota forever. Fraud tourism. They came up with a name. Two knotheads in Pennsylvania were told, hey, come to Minnesota, start an LLC, and the money will come washing in. They did, and were found guilty of $3 million in fraud. If they're knotheads in Pennsylvania that knew about this, Megan, how in the world did somebody sitting at the Department of Human Services not know?
They did. I think a lot of them, I mean, we've talked about the Twitter of 400, 500 plus MMDHS employees and kind of whistleblowing, if you will, and not being supported in kind of what they're seeing and the claims that they're calling out. But I do wonder, if they have a word for everything happening here in Minnesota, is this going to be in a history textbook one day?
Well, I don't know. They put new words. We got to do that too. The new word 6, 7 or something. They got new words in the dictionary all the time. Tourism fraud will be there. And let's just show Minnesota as the definition. Got to go to break. Back after this with more. I've got her Megan's News and Review.
You need a friend at the Capitol who knows how to get things done.
And you're in luck, because that's exactly who we are, your friends at the Capitol, and we deliver results.
At Momentum Advocacy, we bring decades of experience in lobbying, public affairs, and crisis communications.
From local nonprofits to national corporations, we help you move policy, manage your media, and make your voice heard.
We're not just seasoned pros, we're essential partners.
Momentum Advocacy, your friends at the Capitol. Learn more at momentum-advocacy.com.
Think about it. A famous politician once said, "You're entitled to your opinion, but you are not entitled to your own facts." But in a world full of AI and fake news, where can Minnesotans find the facts? Center of the American Experiment is Minnesota's go-to source for fact-based analysis and common sense solutions for taxes, energy, public safety, and our kids' education. Visit AmericanExperiment.org for more information. Think About It is brought to you by Center of the American Experiment, Minnesota's think tank.
As in alligator. L also in alligator. But it's not alligator. It's the Al Travis Show.
And we've got our Megan's News and Review. Megan, I'd like to ask your opinion on something. The Republican side, the gubernatorial race. Now, I'm not sure even the Democratic side is nailed down yet. But on the Republican side, give me your take on it. They had the straw poll. Qualls came out on top, 93. Dameth right behind at 90. And then Trump weighs in. Your thoughts?
Yeah, Trump weighing in kind of threw me for a loop. I mean, and it also threw me for a loop that Mike Lindell decided to get in the race 2 days before that straw poll happened. He ended up coming in third, which is pretty surprising for a 48-hour campaign. But I think that goes to show kind of what we talked about on this show, kind of the grassroots a little bit more to the right, engaging in the process. I think that hold is still kind of there within the caucus process. But yeah, I think with Trump not endorsing, I want to make that clear, he did not endorse Mike Lindell, but he did say that he deserves to be governor, which was very interesting. Mike Lindell pushed back and said, no, this is not an endorsement. When Trump gives his endorsement, it's a full-on, like, very direct, I 100% support this person. That did kind of throw me for a loop. I still think DeMuth is the front runner, but it really will depend on how the campaign teams do their caucus strategy. How are they getting people to caucus for them?
Do you think, though, is there any of them on that list for governor on the Republican side that don't want Trump's endorsement? We're in Minnesota. I'm not sure it's
I think they're all vying for it. We are in Minnesota, but I still think it's a key thing to get people on your side.
If you want the Republican nod, I mean, you go to the caucus, you go to these meetings, you're dyed in the wool. You got to take your Saturdays off. You got to talk. You got to go and spend money to go to these conventions. You're in the game. So if Donald Trump, leader of the group, says this is who I'm behind, I think it carries some weight. I don't know this, but I would say the Dameth people probably got a hold of Trump. Said, did you just endorse? No, but I think Lindell, like you say, came in third, jumping in. You put the Trump endorsement. If he does, he's a player then, right?
Well, and absolutely, yeah. And I think almost they all kind of do have to vie for the endorsement, because we've seen what happens when people don't, or when they openly oppose. And now we're seeing Republicans in Congress resign midterm because of their open opposition to Trump. So I think you almost kind of have to play the game. You have to kind of lean into it, because if you don't, we kind of see what happens. So that just goes to show that the political climate is very volatile. It's intense. You have to be very careful.
And there are two things, if I can, that I find interesting from the Democratic side on this. The governor came out after Dameth pretty quick about it was her. The only one who could help us with gun violence is Dameth, and she's holding us back. So to me, that makes me think the governor or his people think she is a big problem from them. Yeah. Then on the other side, you see the Democrats saying, boy, Mike Lindell could be. They're pushing that Lindell gets it. I think they want run against Mike Lindell, and the whole 2020 election was stolen.
I don't know. I haven't seen any polls out yet, but I have to imagine that the Walz Lindell polls fare better for Walz than the Walz DeMuth polls. Yeah, we'll see if anything comes out soon. But I also think it's interesting now. I mean, last Friday, when I wanted to touch on tying into fraud earlier, Walz finally kind of directly addressed head on the issue of fraud. He said, this is on my watch. I'm accountable. More importantly, I'm going to fix it. He talked about being partners with law enforcement. And then he also kind of pushed back on, I believe it's the assistant U.S. attorney talking about fraud being around $9 billion and saying, my people are saying, it's in the tens of millions, not the billions. So you're just sensationalizing this whole thing. But he's finally tackling the issue head on, which...
With deflection. I'm sorry. I watched that. That was a 20-second, 3-line thing. And then he was absolutely on the U.S. Attorney General saying, he's speculating this, he's speculating that. You know what? I honestly, if the governor is arguing about whether it's $9 billion or $1 billion, the paper said it wasn't going to get one. If the U.S. Attorney General, the one guy who found this stuff, by the way, it wasn't our AG, comes out and says it's 9, it might end up, let's split the baby in the bathwater. It might end up 5. Is that not enough to make you say, what was happening
honestly,
on this governor's
any
watch?
Dollar amount is
that's right.
And the fact that this has been a topic on this show for however many years goes to show that it continually has just been swept under the rug and not fully addressed. So happy to see Walz is speaking out about it now. He knows it's going to be a key issue in 2026. So.
This is the only issue in 2026. I think affordability will come in. The president has about as much to say about how this is going to go for us than any of the candidates running for governor here. What I mean by that is fraud, and more fraud. That's what they run on. And people are going to run on their wallets. Depending how this midterm goes, we'll see. But it should get interesting. I'm not saying I believe yet that we know that the governor is going to be the only one on that side running.
Well, and I don't know if you've seen the chatter. I mean, I know we've talked about he's having a hard time finding a running mate. And now it seems like others kind of lower on the totem pole in the DFL spheres are openly and publicly vying to hop onto that ticket with him.
Mayors. We're down to mayors saying I'll be in. No senators, no House
Very
people.
interesting.
Oh, yeah, it is. I got to fly. I'm out of time. I'm glad we had one more before the end of it. Let's do the best of next week. Fair enough?
Yeah. Next week, we'll be back
Okay.
talking about the top Minnesota news stories of the year. So 2025 year in review on the Al Travis Show with Megan's News in Review.
Braver Angels Minnesota is part of a national movement that brings together